Last minute panic is all about errors. So, errors are things that go wrong, as obvious as that is, and how you fix them. Now, there are two types of errors to know. The first one is called a syntax error. That is basically where the program cannot run. So, a program cannot run with a syntax error. Most common syntax error are things like spelling or grammar. So, things like putting a capital P for print is a common one. Calling on variables that don't exist is a lovely one. So if I call for the variable name but I've not defined it, that's a nice one. Or the easiest one, forgetting speech marks, commas, colons, brackets, forgetting anything like that. Opening them but not closing them, that's another common one. Anything like that will cause a syntax error. The next type of error is next type of error is a logic error. A logic error is where your program works, but it doesn't do what you want it to do. So the program will work, but not as intended. Most common things to get wrong: put in less than instead of greater to, or greater than instead of less than, or whatever it is. Forgetting to put greater than or equal to. Um, if you want to be inclusive, that's another nice common one. So if I say for every number less than 5, do this, but then I want to include 5 in my range, that's a common one. So you put like less than or equal to 5. That's another common logical error. Or calling on the wrong variable, that's another common logical error. Logic errors: the program works, just doesn't do what you want it to do. Here's how it looks in a test. Identify the error is the first one. So what is an error? It's your first state was meant by the term syntax error. Syntax error is an error which will stop the program from working, so won't run as intended. It just won't allow you to run or execute the program. That's what a syntax error is. And the next one is give a version of line 5 that fixes the syntax error. Now the syntax error here is that the word print has been misspelled. So you can see that would cause a syntax error because as far as Python sees, that is not a word. So it doesn't see that as a command, therefore we just spell print correctly and the syntax error is fixed. Next type of error correction is like a spot it and fix it type thing. So you can see that it's looking through. Now with programs like this where it's a little bit longer, line by line in your notes, just squiggle what should that line do, what should that line do, what should that line do, one at a time. Now, the most common thing that they're going to do is, this is a bit of a cheat, but they're going to get those things wrong, greater than or equal to, as they've done here, and or wrong. They'll get that, see, as they've done here. So you can see to correct it, we need to correct the and then the other things would be the order of the prints. So if it's like not in demand is in demand, they might get those the wrong way round, depending on which way round their greater than or equal to is. So in this case, you can see what they've done is they've got the greater than or equal to, but they've put an or instead of an and then they've just got the commands mixed up. So it's basically saying if the stock level is greater than or equal to 5, or less than or equal to 25. Well, that's every number. Every number is greater than or equal to 5 or less than 25, because every number is going to be one of those two things. So that's why or isn't the right answer. It's an and we need here. So it's got to be greater than 5 and less than 25, and then it's in demand. If not, it's not in demand. That's why we switch around those two as well. So there's things to look out for. Look at which way round the greater than or equal to's are. Look for and ors, see if they make sense. Run the program through once in your head or even on paper, like actually run it line by line, and you'll spot what would happen and then what they wanted to happen. It then becomes an easy fix because you can copy most of it, but just swap the things that you think are broken. Alright, and it will always be something like that. And an or, greater than or equal to. Maybe the wrong variable as well, that's a nice one to look out for. See if they call on the wrong variable name or something like that. Alright, but they're going to be your errors to keep an eye on. Next one is the same sort of thing. So it says define a logic error. It's an error that does not cause the program to crash, but it unexpected output is produced. In other words, it doesn't do what you want it to do. Right? Identify the logic errors in the program above. Logic errors are where it doesn't do what I want it to do. So the first one is line 2 here. This is a logic error because what that does is if I say for each number make the number equal to 0 again, make empty equal to 0 again. So if this is the idea for 0 to 2, if I remake it equal to 0 at the start, every time this loop loops round, it restarts empty to be 0 again. So that's why that's a logic error, because that loop restarts the variable empty to be 0 again. So we're looping that. The next one is just this one here. It's a lovely logic error, and it's a hard one to spot, but I've got a variable called empty, like this. This is my variable here, empty. Right, I set the value of that variable, and that's what I want to print out. So I want to print the value of that variable. Because I put it in speech marks, this would literally just print the word empty. So I just need to remove those speech marks, and that removes that logic error. That program will still run, but it won't do what I want it to do. It'll print the word empty. I want to print the variable data empty.